Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the program. I tell you, think of these judges, these unelected little tin horn dictators roaming around in black robes through the hallways, chambers of federal court buildings throughout the country as a fifth column of Bolshevik resistance in this country. And I'm not exaggerating this, folks. This is where we're at. Now, I'll get to the I'll really take this apart today again because it's such an epic story, but it ties into this just, I don't know how to describe this, kind of liberal, orgiastic, I don't know, meltdown that everybody is having in the wake of yet another bombshell piece from The Atlantic. This time, featuring the story of a poor, unfortunate man, young man, a father of three, living an innocent, hardworking life in Maryland. You see this poor, innocent man, an apprentice, a metalsmith of some sort, working a union job, wife at home, three kids, blah, 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 apparently gets picked up by ICE, sent to Texas, and then on to the dreaded prison in El Salvador. And the story, look, the Atlantic, I am infuriated by this piece. It's just a sloppy bit of journalism, what you'd expect from a rag publication. And they hang their entire thing on a document that was filed yesterday with the U.S. District Court in Maryland by the government, by Kristi Noem and the legal team representing the Trump administration. And I've got it here. In fact, trust me, I mean, among us lawyers, this little document is making the rounds. Everybody's sending it to everybody and up in arms. Oh my gosh, Sam, well, can you believe they did this? Can you believe that the Trump administration took this guy that had protected status and shipped him off in the dead of the night to El Salvador? My response to it is, well, okay, well, show me what do you have to back this up? And I go, well, the government admitted it. They admitted it. So, and I know it's like the third or fourth paragraph in the story here in the piece in the Atlantic. It hinges on this too. So here, I'll read you the line, and then let me explain to you exactly what the real story is. On page 3, following the numbering of the plaintiff's motion, the government's motion, it says, quote, on March 15th, although ICE was aware of his protection from removal to El Salvador, Abrego Garcia was removed to El Salvador because of an administrative error. Everybody's going, well, they admitted it, Sam. They admit it. They did. It was a mistake. Here's what we know, or here's the real scoop, right? This guy was in the country illegally from at least 2011. Sometime in 2019, okay, he gets picked up. I guess he's at a Home Depot, gets picked up, gets detained, and an immigration judge, this is under the first Trump administration, determines that he is, in fact, a member of MS-13. And also he had multiple traffic violations, failed to, appear in court, whatever. So they end up deciding that he's going to be sent out of the country. And then under Biden, he gets protected status. All right. My answer to every single person here who is screaming and yelling about this on the left is quite simple. You don't get to hide behind this nonsense of protected status. Oh, but he was legal. Oh, but he was protected. Oh, but he had some magic legal protections. When it's the number one, the Biden administration, who went along and with their magic wand, Biden went around legalizing, millions of people summarily. You want to talk about no process, no determinations made at a case-by-case basis. So Biden, the Democrats, import millions of people. This guy, in fact, came as early as 2011. But again, under a Democrat rule. So under Obama, this guy comes in, gets in the country, easy peasy. Millions of people are allowed to come into the country. This, of course, is the policy of the Democratic Party. And then when a Republican comes along, we are supposed to clean it up very methodically, case by case, person by person, make deep determinations of fact, follow procedures that are lengthy and convoluted, all to slow it down and make it all but impossible to get rid of people in the country illegally. This protected status, whether it was Biden or a judge or, however it worked, this protected status is nonsense. This man came to the country unlawfully. He got into trouble. He should have been deported right then and there. I don't care if he's Tren de Aragua or MS-13 or if he's just a father of three. He came here illegally. He broke the law. He wasn't a model citizen. He may have been part of a gang. A judge, in fact, determined that he was. And now we're supposed to cry over him for getting his money sent back across the border. I have no tolerance for this. None. Meaning the criticisms of this and this fake hysteria that is consuming the political left. And actually, even some conservatives out there going, whoa, well, this is not good. It's not a good look. Again, the way the Democratic Party wants to do this is they want to make it super easy for people to come into the country illegally and super difficult to then get rid of them. If you don't understand that that's an op, that it's intended to be this way in order to get as many people in the country and have them stay, I can't help you. To me, it's just completely straightforward. Now, can I just tell you a quick thing about due process? Everybody's shouting about due process. Suddenly, people discovered due process. You know what I'm tickled about? Robbie, I am tickled that the Democratic Party has discovered what due process is, something they would not give anybody. Think about the Me Too movement. I'd like the Democratic Party to apply some due process before they call Republicans Nazis. We should get some due process rights before we are slandered and smeared and defamed. Due process means not that you get a trial by jury. I'm seeing that all over the place. Oh, there should have been a trial. A jury should have decided. No. Due process simply means that there has to be a uniform procedure followed to take away somebody's rights. So if there's a benefit or a natural right that is owed a citizen, and you could argue a person within the U.S., okay, even if they're illegal, okay, not, by the way, not an enemy combatant that is inside the country doing harm. So these actual gangbangers, these Tren de Aragua people who were sent over here by the Venezuelan regime on purpose to F things up for the U.S., sorry, no due process rights. You're an enemy combatant. You're detained. You could be detained by the military and expelled from the country. But I digress. It doesn't have to be a protracted legal process, but it just has to be a process. And one thing that is not clear to me, this guy, there very well could have been a process, and probably was. There was, you get detained, somebody looks at your paperwork, they make a determination, and it can be short, sweet, and to the point. So it's, none of what I'm reading here is somehow dispositive of his due process rights being trampled. And I don't care. Look, again, if he was married to a citizen for however many years, there's more to this story. Why didn't he apply for his green card? He didn't have that. Why didn't he apply for citizenship? Right? There's just a lot here that stinks. And the characterizations I read about this and the judges that are rushing in, these activist, liberal, left-wing, communist apparatchiks that pose as objective jurists. I mean, to me, these people, maybe Trump needs to start deporting the judges. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. Friends, I'll be right back after this.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
My goodness. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Welcome to the What's Right Show. My email, sam@whatsrightshow.com. And of course, on X, aka Twitter, you can find me at What's Right Sam. Okay, let's see here. Yes, it's exactly the way to understand this piece in The Atlantic. This outrageous piece of trash journalism in The Atlantic decrying the administrative error that sent a Maryland father to a Salvadoran prison. This nice Maryland dad, just a normal guy, who, by the way, had previously by a judge found to be part of a gang in Venezuela. So this is how they play these games. Can I say something, by the way, about this administrative error? I read it, and again, I'm looking at it differently. I don't look at this thing as a political observer. I'm looking at it as a lawyer. And I thought to myself, I know what Pam Bondi here did and Kristi Noem did. I know what the Solicitor General did for the Trump administration. When they write here that Abrego Garcia was, quote, removed to El Salvador because of an administrative error, it's much easier, okay, to tell the court, well, whoops, we made a mistake, and to not get into any of the reasons for why you did what you did. Remember, they've got every judge breathing down their necks. I mean, the error is sorry, we made an error. They want to focus the entire argument here, and they do it. They basically focus the entire argument that they'd have no control over this guy now that he's down in El Salvador, in that supermax prison that President Bukele set up there and has had a enormously successful turnaround in crime rates in El Salvador. And apparently, right, I mean, this is just kind of basic law. You can't have habeas corpus. You can't go to a U.S. court and demand habeas corpus of a person who is not within the jurisdiction of the court. And by the way, why is the Trump administration doing it? Why are they proceeding like this? The reason they're doing this is because these judges are going wild with these universal injunctions. And there's no even basis of law for this. What these judges are doing is completely insane. This was Thursday of last week. Senator Kennedy from Louisiana sat down with Brett Shumate, and he's an assistant attorney general nominee. And this was in the Senate Judiciary Committee. And I was holding on to this, but it's a great time right now for me to bust this out for you, because this is the problem. These judges think that they control anything and everything. As soon as they have somebody come into court, they can dictate whole cloth to the executive branch, to the government of the United States policy, and they can control people who are not even a party in a lawsuit. And the short answer is you can't do that. Okay, here's the testimony back and forth between Senator Kennedy and Attorney General, Assistant U.S. Attorney General nominee Brett Shumate.
Senator, a universal injunction is what we call an order from a court enjoining the government in a way that goes beyond the parties to the case, but applies nationwide or in some cases universally to enjoin the government.
Is it sometimes referred to as a nationwide injunction?
Yes, it is, Senator.
Yep.
What's the statutory basis for a federal judge issuing an order that affects
What's the
people
law?
other than the parties before
What's
the
the
court?
law that says that they can do
I'm not
this?
aware of a statutory basis, Senator.
Oh!
There's no statutory basis, is there?
Oh!
No, Senator.
What's the United States Supreme Court opinion which interprets the Constitution in a way that allows a federal district court judge to do this?
Great
Can you
question.
name me that case?
I'm not aware of one, Senator.
There isn't one, is there?
I'm not aware of one, Senator.
Nope.
Explain to me how this works. How can a federal judge issue an order that affects everybody else other than those in front of him or her? How is that possible?
It shouldn't be possible, Senator, but district courts do it all the time. I think on the theory that the courts need to enjoin a federal policy from going into effect, and they often will enjoin it as nationwide, so all non-parties are protected by that injunction.
I thought that if you wanted to affect parties who aren't in court, you had to file a class action.
That's correct, Senator.
So why don't the federal judges, instead of issuing a universal injunction with no legal basis, tell the plaintiff, look, you got to go file a class action if you want to impact parties who aren't subject to my court?
Senator, the Department of Justice makes that argument all the time in our briefs. I think in many cases, class actions would be inappropriate. They wouldn't. The plaintiffs couldn't satisfy Rule 23 to establish a class.
So they couldn't.
Correct.
So they preferred to ask for a universal injunction.
Yes.
Does this encourage forum shopping?
Yes, Senator. Not only does it encourage
Meaning picking
forum shopping, but also
good courts,
district shopping,
friendly
and
courts,
filing
liberal
multiple
courts.
strategic lawsuits to find one judge that will enjoin a single policy nationwide. If you have 5 lawsuits, a plaintiff, only one of those 5 cases needs to be successful.
Oh, let's find a judge named, I don't know, James Boasberg. Let's find James Oh, he's a good, reliable chap. He's the guy that gave Ray Epps no jail time, even though Boasberg repeatedly argued in his sentencing rants to nonviolent J6ers that they need to see jail because of the enormity of the events of that day. He's the guy that signed all the illegal, unlawful FISA warrants that spied on the Trump campaign in 2016. Judge Boasberg. So they find a judge. They forum shop to the judge. There's no legal basis for them to do this. And the end run around it, just so we understand, is the Trump people on day one understood what was going to happen. This is how much better the Trump administration is now versus 8 years ago. They knew they were going to do this. They knew that the liberal judges were going to just grant all these unlawful orders. So what do? They go, let's ship these illegal immigrant aliens out of the country to a foreign country that's friendly to us, send them there, and they can scream and shout all they want. The people responsible, if the left wants to actually throw a principled fit about this and say that this is the most un-American thing that they've ever seen, they need to take a breath, deep breath, look in the mirror, and understand that this all is a reaction to the hijacking of our system by the left. And the fact that the courts now have no legitimacy, that in the course of the last 2 months, has whatever was left there has evaporated, is entirely the doing of the Democratic Party. So there it is. I mean, look, this is classic FAFO. And the Democrats are in the finding out part right now. Delightful to see. By the way, Kennedy's onto something. They've got a way to curtail this practice. I want to tell you what that is when we come back. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. I'll be back in a moment. Hi, welcome back. The What's Right show is on, brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam & Ash, the only law firm to trust for your injury case. Offices in Nevada and California, 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. An article published in Nature magazine studied over 3,000 people's faces, their physical features, to determine if there were any links between features of someone's face and their political views. Think of this like a political phrenology, okay? And the people found out, guess what? Ugly women are more likely to be liberal. This is what was at. Yeah, less attractive and more contemptuous looking women are more likely to be left-leaning. You know, I don't think it's the cause. I think that liberalism makes you ugly. That's my theory. You know, can we just step away kind of for just a moment from today's news? I'm going to get to what I think Senator Kennedy's onto something here, fixing these judges gone wild. But just stepping back from all of this for a moment, the big picture politically. What is conservatism? What is liberalism? Because for me, it's very clear. As a conservative, I believe in being independent. I believe in being strong. I believe in providing for myself, for my family. I believe in being a good citizen. I believe in paying my taxes. I believe in, in order, in respect. I believe in patriotism. And, when you have those kind of thoughts inside of you, when you see a neighbor pull up to their house in a new car, as a conservative, I get excited. I said, hey, congratulations on the new car. Nice Tesla, for example. Wow, is that the new, plaid Tesla Model S? The $120,000 is that, and I will be genuinely happy for my neighbor. What does a liberal do? A liberal sees their neighbor pull up in their dream car. And even if it's not a Tesla, their first thought is jealousy. Right? Because leftism is driven by the power, the hardest power of avarice, but of envy. Really? It's the envy. That's what keeps leftism going. And they immediately go, oh my God, Tesla, how could you support a Nazi? Oh my goodness. Everything they do, it's so negative is my point. And I'm convinced it affects people how they look. I really do believe that your disposition is affected by what's in your heart. So I bet you it's not causal, the way that Nature magazine thinks. What is causal, however, is this nonsense going on at the courts. Remember when I told you, and this is how I want to start this. Remember when I told you how the courts are suffering what I think will be the most significant erosion of power since the beginning of the country. In the history of the United States, U.S. federal courts will suffer their greatest setback in power in the next year. And it's all self-inflicted. Remember when I said that basically the courts could taking this so far with all these injunctions, all these silly rulings, all these, oh, Trump, the latest is Trump can't fire, DEI hires in the Department of Defense. Yeah, so every day, you look at the news and there's some headline, again, of some judge somewhere, usually in D.C., but in other circuits as well, making a giant determination that the federal government can't do X. And they're big things. And they're things that you sort of, even if you're not familiar with the Constitution, believe are probably within the discretion of the head of the executive branch. So anyway, every time one of those rulings comes out and a judge does that, and the Trump administration says, well, we're not listening to you. The big one yesterday, of course, that I was talking about was yet another Tren de Aragua, repatriation flight to El Salvador. Well, it's not their country. That's part of the joke, too. So, but anyway, the flight's going, people getting these criminal aliens getting deported and sent to, this prison in El Salvador, even though Judge Boasberg and others have said Trump shall not do that. There is no actual repercussion for Trump. There's no, removal. That's it. But Trump is politically popular. He has the support of Congress. Trump not only won the presidency, but his party won both chambers of the legislative branch. It's not going to happen. So none of these orders get enforced. And when these orders don't get enforced, guess what happens? Like, think of parenting. I always use this is a great analogy. The parents that constantly tell their kids, don't do that. Mommy said don't do that. Don't do it. The kid's like, keeps doing it. Now, and when my kids were younger, that if you disregard me, I'm old fashioned and European, so there'd be a SWAT. And next time the, I'd say, hey, don't do that. My kids would snap to and listen. And we have very well-behaved kids who a lot of parents look at them now that they're older and go, wow, your kids are great. Yeah, well, I didn't do any of this new age sensitive parenting bullcrap. So anyway, the courts can't slap Trump. They can't do it. So they have to resort to gentle parenting. Don't do that. Don't do that. Well, they're not being that gentle. They're foaming at the mouth, literally eyes bulging out of the head. These judges are so mad, but that's all they can do. And I'm not saying Trump is the child, but you understand, Trump can just keep doing. And what happens to those parents over time? How weak are they? So that's where we're at with this. And the solution, of course, is, right, the solution here would be the Supreme Court, Justice Roberts stepping in and saying, enough. Here are the rules. Here's the bright line rule. And basically give Trump most of what he wants, which is very much in line with what the Constitution and what federal law says. He should say and rule that these injunctions, for example, are illegal. But he hates Trump, and that's part of the problem. Even the so-called conservatives, some of them on the court, have Trump derangement syndrome. So what are we left with? We're left with the Supreme Court sitting on the sidelines, not doing anything, letting this thing get, way out of whack. I think Roberts is such a political animal. I think that he thinks that Trump eventually is going to suffer political blowback for this. And I think that's just inside the beltway, myopic thinking, right? I just don't think he understands that what Trump is doing is wildly popular. Like, I know conservative lawyers who are rule of law people, and it comes to these deportation flights, and like me, they are enough. Like, enough is enough. You guys put 15 maybe 25 million people into the country in 4 years. You broke every single law. And now what? Now we're supposed to, now we're supposed to cross our T's and dot our I's and do everything by the book. Yeah, kiss my ass, right? So that's not going to happen. So what's the solution here? Well, the Supreme Court's not doing anything. So Senator Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana, has this idea. And his idea is basically to come in and pass a law that curtails these injunctions. That says basically to the justices, you can't do this. And it's being called the Judicial Relief Clarification Act, which clears up the scope of judicial power and will address some of this judicial infringement on the executive branch. Common sense bill. Grassley is now backing the bill. So you've got two big names in the Senate, big Republican names. These are not, MAGA crazies. These are, good Republicans, normal, who are going to get other Republicans, my point, who are more likely to get other Republicans on board with this, even some of the wobblers. So the chances that this could pass is pretty big. This is the answer. More of this. I saw, who was it? Chip Roy, Robbie. I think it's Chip Roy today out of Texas. Wanted to initiate, or said he was going to move forward with filing removal proceedings, articles of impeachment, basically against Judge Boasberg, and it's such a stunt. I mean, don't get me wrong. On principle, absolutely, when you have a judge making up law in order to get his political way, and Judge Boasberg, of course, also has some pretty deep conflicts of interest that are in the way of him even being on this case to begin with, some of these Trump cases. But regardless, there's grounds to impeach him. It's just not going to happen. 2/3 of the Senate senators present. So if all 100 senators show up, you need 67 votes. And there's 54 Republican, 53 Republicans. So just you're never going to get 14 Democrats to join this effort to remove Democrat judges who they put on the bench, right? It's the Senate that votes on these judges. They're not doing it. So I think it's performative, to say the least. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam & Ash 702-820-1234 because you deserve what's right. All right, folks, my email, sam@whatsrightshow.com, sam@whatsrightshow.com, on X, formerly known as Twitter, @whatsrightsam. So getting some emails here, some angry folks out there who didn't like me mentioning the story in Nature about how apparently in the study of human faces and features that the writers of the piece determined, the researchers determined that liberal women are ugly. You got to trust the science, right? What happened to that? By the way, I actually disagree with the story. I think liberalism is what makes people ugly, male and female. It's the anger, right? It's the anger. It's the envy. It's just everything is, they're so hostile. But think about Hollywood. Robbie's sending me now pictures the whole time. I was talking, Robbie. I wasn't paying attention to the chat. He's sending me before and after pictures of Hollywood women, kind of like when they got their start, when they were still wholesome's probably not the word, but you know what I mean. And then when they devolved into radical activism, and Katy Perry. Is that fair? Who's this one? Oh. Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow in 1990, how old was she here? She's beautiful. I have a male friend, a good guy friend named Matt. Robbie, you know Matt. So he got these like Ray-Ban clear sunglasses. They're the Meta glasses. Anyway, whatever. He wears them, and he has them in his profile picture that comes up whenever he's, texting me or whatever. He was texting me the other day. And my literally, Matt looks like Rachel Maddow. Robbie, do you see that? Like, he listens to the show once in a while. Hope. What's my point? Okay. My point is liberalism turned Rachel Maddow from a very attractive young woman to a decently attractive young man, middle-aged man, I'll say. So that's that, and it's not a trans thing. It's just that's her look now. And Ellen Page. So that's a different thing. And by the way, Ellen Page did an interview, right? Ellen Page transitioned, and I thought Ellen Page was a beautiful actress, beautiful, like and talented, and just but a gorgeous woman. And I mean, not good. Right now, she's Elliot Page, supposedly, and did an interview about how happy now that she's trans, how she's a trans man. She's so happy. And the whole thing to me, can I tell you honestly what I saw in that? I'm convinced that it's nearly impossible for you to be a woman to go through Hollywood, be successful, particularly as a young Hollywood actress, and not be taken advantage of by these sicko pervert dudes that work in Hollywood. Now, I don't know if Ellen Page was abused or, sexually harassed or assaulted or anything like that, but it's just a common experience. I have a daughter who wants to be a comedian, she wants to act and everything. I wouldn't let her near Hollywood. I would have to be with her 24/7 to allow her into Hollywood. So anyway, my point is, I just looking at Ellen Page, I just feel so bad for her. I really do. I think there's a lot more at play than a whatever gender dysphoria. So anyway, I think it's the liberalism that destroys people, and it destroys people from within because it attacks their heart. And liberalism isn't about compassion. Liberalism isn't about good vibes and whatever. That's nonsense. Liberalism is all about looking at some other guy and finding reasons to hate them. That guy's rich. That guy's a billionaire. That guy's a millionaire. That guy's an exploiter. That guy's a different race than me. What's the party? What's the political movement in this country that is obsessed with racial identity? Okay? Republicans get together, give a rat's rear end about, what race. Hey, do you know how to, can we be friends? Do you know how to barbecue, right? Are you a nice person? Do you have a nice family? And it's the Democrats that bring up race at every turn, that want to make, want to organize and reorganize society by race. That's where they've gotten on all of this. And incidentally, I'm going to get into this next hour. The Democratic Party has, we talk about this, lost its way. There's a horrifying new poll that congressional Democrats now have a 21% approval rating. Now, Cory Booker, is Cory Booker still talking right now, Robbie? Are you following this? Cory Booker has been on the floor of the Senate for 15 hours. Where are we at? Can't keep track. I should pull up a live feed. Probably MSNBC probably has a live feed of him. So he's filibustering. He's out there. He's talking about all the terrible things that the Trump administration does. And now the debate is Frank Luntz, by the way, thinks that this is what all Democrats ought to be doing. And this is after Frank Luntz sat down with a bunch of Democrats. I'm going to play this for you. He did a focus group of a bunch of Democrats. And here's the question I want you to think about during the break. Do you think rank and file Democrats, not political people, not Nancy Pelosi, not Cory Booker, okay, not Timu Obama, a.k.a. Hakeem Jeffries, rank and file ordinary Democrat voters, you think that they want to change something in the Democratic Party fundamentally? And if so, right? If so, what is that? Fascinating stuff. By the way, I'm going to explain to you exactly why they're taking this position and why that makes Trump one of the most genius political tacticians in a generation, in 4 generations. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. Be right back after a short break. Nevada's favorite recovering Californian behind the What's Right microphone, Sam Mirejovsky here. Greetings, friends. Happy Tuesday, April 1st. The struggle I have with April Fool's Day, generally speaking, when I'm perusing social media and mainstream media as a whole, is it's tough to tell what is intended to be a farce and what is just ordinary BS that these propagandists put out there 365 days a year. So yeah, that's it. I'm just like, oh, is this a joke? Oh, no. That's just a Democrat giving his opinion. All right, friends, the What's Right show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam & Ash 702-820-1234. You can reach me, my email, sam@whatsrightshow.com, sam@whatsrightshow.com. And on Twitter, you can find me at What's Right Sam. So the FBI, someone leaked out internal FBI chat messages that show that senior FBI officials knew that the Hunter Biden laptop was real. And it's their texts back and forth about it. And they basically do not talk about the Biden matter. Now, I'm seeing some Republicans react to this with, well, if these basically saying that the FBI shouldn't be leaking documents. Somebody out there leaked this. I don't think it came directly through any official channels. It's a little unclear to me fully exactly how this got out. Somebody said here it's accidentally confirmed authentic on Twitter. So the reaction is, okay, that this is inappropriate, shouldn't happen. Yes, of course, I want to see the FBI be a professional law enforcement organization that doesn't leak. But far more concerning to me, folks, is that there were top-level FBI people conspiring to protect Joe Biden, his campaign, working against the president of the United States. I mean, to me, this is the far bigger crime. Everybody on this chat log needs to be prosecuted. So don't give me this high moral grant. Oh, we got to go after the leaker. Sure, okay, don't leak. But I mean, this is absolutely criminal, and now confirms what we always knew, what we knew all along. So anyway, there it is. I mentioned just before the break that the pollster and wordsmith, the great Frank Luntz, sat down with a group of Democrats. Well, it wasn't. It was a virtual focus group. So he had a panelist here, about 20 of them, on the Zoom call. It's fascinating stuff. I don't know if you've ever participated in a focus group. And their look, I mean, it's all about the art of a focus group, beyond, of course, just asking good questions and knowing how to lead them. That's a science. But the bigger science is picking the right people. So you incentivize them. You send out you have to first get your list of people that you're going to reach out to, and you've got to. I think you have to pre-interview them and make sure that they are, representative of sort of mainstream thought for whatever demographic you're going for. The demographic here, of course, are Democrats, are voting Democrats from across the country. Now this is so fascinating to me. What do you think these people want to do with the party? I would think when you have congressional approval ratings right now, and Democrat congressional approval ratings in the toilet, literally in the toilet, 21%. What do you think that these, that rank and file Democrats are obviously unhappy with, how this is going? And so what do you think they would do? I mean, here's how bad it is, right? Because I'm posing the question because I really want you folks I want us all to think about this. Harry Enton at CNN got out there and looked at the numbers, right? How bad it is with the Democratic Party. This was today on CNN. So it actually precedes the this focus group that Luntz did. But this is astonishing. I mean, absolutely wow.
Holy Toledo. Voters' views of the Democrats in Congress among all voters disapprove, 68%. And look at the approved number, just 21%, even lower than the Democratic Party at large. This is the lowest on record for Democrats, according to Quinnipiac University polling. You think these numbers are bad? Let's go to this side of the screen. We'll look how Democratic voters feel. Get this. The plurality of Democratic voters disapprove of Democrats in Congress at 49%, and just 40% approve. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Oh, my goodness gracious, you just can't get worse than these numbers.
And this is the number right here really driving all of this. If Democrats have turned, if Democratic voters have turned on Democrats in Congress and the Democratic Party, that's what puts the numbers at historic lows. What is it they want to be seeing, these voters?
What is going on? I'll tell you what's going on. They don't like what's coming out of some of those Senate Democrats like Chuck Schumer, because take a look at the direction of the party. Democratic voters on Democrats in Congress doing too little to oppose Donald Trump. Look at this. 77% should stay principled, even if it means nothing gets done in Washington, D.C. 65%. And this 65% is such a difference from where we were in 2017 at this point, when just 33% of Democrats say they should stay principled, compared to 59% who said they want to compromise. Democrats do not want compromise at this point. They want a fighter. They want to go into the ring like Muhammad Ali did against Sonny Liston. They want to take down the Republicans. They do not want this compromise anymore. They want to be more like Republicans, can get up to that stage and fight. And right now they feel like their leaders in Congress are simply put not doing so. And that is why their approval rating for congressional Democrats is at an all-time low, even among Democrats with more disapproving than approving.
Yeah, it seems that these Senate Democrats, some of them are banking on the idea that there is still a political middle, as it were. We will see. We will see.
We will see if there's a political middle, but at this point, count me skeptical that is at least what the Democratic base wants at this point. It's going to be very interesting, John, to see moving forward whether or not there are any repercussions come 2026, because I bet there may be some coming.
Okay, now, let's objectively, from our perspective, because of course we have common sense on this program. We also have something I like to call reality. I happen to know that it's the fact that Democrats have been so crazy, woke, far left lunatics that it's alienated voters and it's causing them to lose elections. But Frank Luntz asks the question about centrism versus progressivism. So Frank Luntz does this, sit down with these voters, this focus group, and this gets released. This was released on Friday. And here's what he asks: middle of the road versus progressivism. Wow.
Will the Democrats be better off by picking middle-of-the-road candidates or better off picking progressive candidates? Raise your hands if you say middle of the road.
One guy.
I see one hand
Two,
up.
three.
Three hands up.
Three guys.
Four. Okay. CJ, why middle of the road?
Because I feel like too progressive, we've shown that it kind of gives us more roadblocks in the middle of the road.
Colton, why middle of the road?
Kamala didn't lose because she was seen as too centrist. She lost essentially because not only the shortened time frame, the 100 days of the election, because she took very, relative to the center of the country, she took very progressive policy positions in 2020 especially, and that connotation never left her.
Yep. Now, this guy's name is Carlton. He's from Maryland. Carlton is right. Now, I'm going to take a break here. We'll play what the rest are saying. Obviously, only 4 thought centrism was better. The rest all want the Democratic Party to get more progressive. Now, I'm going to tell you what. This is terrible news for the Democratic Party. It's great news for us. And it's even better news for Donald Trump. You see, Trump took issues that are truly 80-20, maybe 70-30, took popular issues, made them the centerpiece of his campaign, and then is making them the centerpiece of his agenda, of his administration. And the Democrats, right, who are literally just peak infection of TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, have to do whatever Trump isn't doing. And Trump has occupied the middle of the country. And the Democrats, because they hate Trump, are always going to be reactive to whatever Trump is doing. Trump occupies the center. The Democrats have no choice in their little brains to do anything other than to flee to the far right. This is terrible. Trump stole the Democratic Party from the Democrats. He signed an executive order the other day ending basically scalping of tickets. This is a Democrat issue. It's like a Democrat thing. It's not a conservative thing. You don't do that. You don't insert yourself like that in the free marketplace. Now, Trump's taking it from Democrats, and the Democrats are out there probably screaming now in defense of the ticket scalpers. I'm just giving you one small example, right? Trump does things that are popular, and the formerly popular party that used to represent people, ordinary Americans, has to take a contraposition and has to back away. And they will keep backing further left as this goes along. Now, I'll give you my proof of this when we come back. The rest of this Frank Luntz focus group. Absolutely fascinating stuff. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, The What's Right Show. We'll be back in a moment.
The Salmon Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Hey, guys. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. So Cory Booker is still at it, standing and speaking in the Senate chamber. He's been going for over 21 hours. He just passed Ted Cruz's filibuster record, which was 21 hours, 19 minutes in his protest to Obamacare. Here on the What's Right show, look, we celebrate exceptionalism. Good going for Cory Booker. He still has to catch up with Strom Thurmond. South Carolina former Senator Strom Thurmond, who's has since passed away, but he still holds the record of 24 hours and 18 minutes speaking against the Civil Rights Act of 1957. By the way, I met Strom Thurmond. You know this, Robbie? When I met him, he was 90. Is that possible? And he was still in the Senate. Yeah, I don't know. Look, Jamal Bowman isn't in Congress anymore. Where's Jamal Bowman when you need him? Right? There's a fire alarm somewhere that's not getting pulled because Bowman's not in Congress any longer. Okay. This Democrat Party therapy session hosted by Frank Luntz, the pollster and political strategist. It's quite interesting. He asks the group of, there are 15 Democrats. I said 20 before. 15 Democrats, asks them, what should the Democratic Party do? Go more toward the center or, get more progressive? One person immediately raises his hand, more center, and then kind of gingerly followed by some stragglers, maybe 3 others. Right? So a total of 4. Then he asks, okay, I guess the rest of you more progressive. Everybody raises their hands. And well, he calls on a woman and to give an answer. And the answer is, well, I think it's terrifying for the future of the Democratic Party.
Okay, can someone disagree with that? I know that the vast majority of you want the candidates to be more progressive. Deborah, why more progressive?
Oh, I don't believe Kamala lost because of her policies. I think she lost because people were disillusioned and disenfranchised and didn't vote. Because I think people are looking for something different. They're not looking for the same old white guy. At least the Democrats aren't. I mean, Bernie Sanders had a lot of momentum underneath him. He's an old white guy, but he had a lot of momentum underneath him. But yet they went with what they wanted to, not what the people wanted. And that's what was so frustrating about since in that decade. And now there's the consequences of that, of going that way, of always middle of the road instead of, we want something different. I think it's quite obvious that we want something different, but nobody's listening to us.
April and then Marie, because you're both nodding your heads. Why is Deborah correct?
Well, I don't think Kamala Harris was progressive at all in her policies. I think that the people didn't get the chance to vote, and Biden's policies on Palestine are a big reason why a lot of voters did not vote for her.
Marie, why do we need more progressive candidates from the Democrats?
Because right now we don't have any. Like we're at a loss. Like I want Pete Buttigieg.
We need change, not thoughts and prayers.
Pete Buttigieg? I missed that at first. Yeah, Pete Buttigieg. Yeah. That's who we need. Okay. Number one, they're all over the map. But what are they all saying? Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris wasn't radical, wasn't a progressive. Kamala Harris could never get away from how she ran in 2020. And one of the first respondents, I think his name was Carlton from Maryland, where he says that she took a very progressive policy positions in 2020. He's absolutely right. But for the left, it wasn't progressive enough. Kamala Harris wasn't the candidate as far left as they would have wanted. They want communism. That's what they want. The reason they want Bernie Sanders, Pete Buttigieg, that's an outlier comment, but Bernie Sanders, the reason Democrats love Bernie Sanders, he's a socialist. So we have some chunk of the country at somewhere probably around 33% who really would be absolutely fine with communism. This is unsettling. Now, the good news is it's just not in our American DNA to go full communist. It's like Tropic Thunder. You don't go full retard. You never go full communist, okay? So these people now are off in just way left, crazy land. And they're there in part because Trump has occupied the center. Again, this is very important. Trump hits the center. Trump is not a radical. You can call him a Nazi, a fascist, whatever. He's not. His policies actually are borrowed heavily from Clinton-era Democratic, platform talking points. Maybe less about Clinton was a free trade guy. But by the way, putting in tariffs and supporting industry at home and supporting labor, workers, hourly workers, that's previously a very democratic position. But these people will make their bed with free trade globalists who will sell out the working classes of America just so these people can feel good about, following Marx and sticking it to Trump, because it's all about beating Trump. So I played that Harry Enton guy, he did the polling. 70+% of Democrats think that congressional Democrats are not doing enough to counter Trump. It's all in their heads about stopping Trump. It has nothing to do with an affirmative policy position. 5 things. Take a Democrat and say 5 things that you want to do good for the country. 5 things. They'll say, stop Trump, stop Trump, stop Trump, stop Trump, and stop Trump. It's not going to work. You're not going to win an election with this. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. Be right back in just a few minutes. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the What's Right Show, your place for common sense conservatism, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. here on News Talk 840 KXNT. I got an email here from Susan asking me about the articles out there that might seem like they're April Fools, but aren't. I don't know if this is, I'll give you an example here. Red Wave Press puts an article out today. San Francisco is implementing a new speed safety system pilot program to charge people different prices for speeding tickets based on income in the name of equity. Some people will get up to 80% discounted on speeding tickets. I think it's an April Fool's thing, but I'm reading this and I'm going, could happen. In Europe, in Sweden, in Germany, number of countries, you absolutely are fined for traffic violations based on your income. And there are tickets that can go into the thousands upon thousands of dollars if you are a wealthy citizen. And this all the while, Mahmoud and Mohammed get to do whatever the hell they please as guests in your backyard. Okay. Speaking of guests here, so Frank Luntz had his little setup here talking to Democrats, 15 Democrats across the country about the future of the Democratic Party. And the answers, picking through it here, fairly unsurprising to me, actually. They want, of course, most of them, 11 out of 15, want Democrats to be more progressive, not less progressive. They want to stake the more extreme end of the political spectrum because they think in their minds that Trump has gone far right. They keep calling Trump a Nazi. This is the problem with this. Democrats have convinced themselves that Trump is far right. Trump's a populist. Trump, if he was, listen, folks, if Trump was running as a Democrat, and by the way, this is why some Republicans don't like Trump historically. I just don't think he's conservative enough. I even remember, we like to forget some of these things, and you're not going to find a bigger fan of Trump or Rush Limbaugh than yours truly. But I remember early on when Trump was running 2015, early 2016, and I remember Rush, depending on the day that how he was feeling about it, would slam Trump for not being a real conservative. Okay? Look, I'm just telling you. Trump is in the middle. His positions are very common sense, and they're broadly popular. And we can argue whether some of these issues are 80-20 or 70-30 or 60-40, but the Democrats sure as hell think by going, on being on the wrong side of all those broadly supported issues makes the Democrats basically pariahs, politically speaking. So it's not a messaging problem. How many times have you heard Democrats say it's a messaging problem? Frank Luntz asked the question. Here we go. It's the messaging.
Somebody else.
I think the problem is messaging more than anything. Not so much whether they're progressive or middle of the road. I think the Democrats are all for the same kinds of policies, but the Republicans seize on the messaging and they win with it every time because they tap into something in Americans that the Democrats have never been able to do. And that's why, I think people are very frustrated. The Republicans are always running away with the message. We can never get across what we stand for and what Biden really accomplished during his 4 years.
This is complete nonsense. It's not the messaging. The Democrats don't believe in anything except destroying Trump, okay, and winning political power. Remember how I mentioned David Horowitz, his great quote, libs have no actual beliefs, just hatreds and resentments, okay? And their messaging is all over the freaking map because they don't have Trump is a guy that they don't have a foundation in anything. Trump believes that we're getting taken advantage by broadly by our trading partners. Trump believes that illegal immigration is bad. Trump believes in law and order. Okay, Trump believes that men playing in women's sports is not right. Trump believes that America should take care of America first before we go around the world helping everybody else. Trump believes that we should have immigrants in this country that don't hate us. I very quickly articulated what Trump believes. Now, Democrats don't care enough about the gosh dang environment to not turn around and begin burning the most successful, popular, functioning electric car on the road just because the guy that built it is politically aligned with the orange man, whom they hate. Again, liberals have no actual beliefs, just hatreds and resentments. Hey, look, a lot of you email me, and I get this email about once a day. Dear Sam, stop telling the Democrats how to fix their party. We Republicans should not help the Democrats with anything. Love, your loyal listener. Now, you're right. This is my answer. You're right, of course. I shouldn't spend any time here helping them. But they won't listen to me. And they don't listen to anybody. And it's important for us to talk about the opposition. It's important for us to understand the opposition. It's important for us to support Trump, who has done more to eviscerate the Democratic Party than any single politician in my lifetime and possibly any person lifetime living today. This is phenomenal. It's not somebody else, right? It's about, we got to focus to make the party stronger. I mean, it's true. This Christopher Michigan guy writes, says in his answer, he goes, we can't just attack the Republican Party. We have to talk about issues. Okay. But when they talk about the issues, the truth is that, and I say this all the time, if the Democratic Party actually talked about the issues, if they actually revealed that they want communism, because you see they all want progressivism. So if they actually talked about the issues, they would have to come clean that they want open borders, they want socialized medicine, they want confiscatory tax policy, they want the government takeover of private enterprise, they want to shoot and kill CEOs. I mean, stop me. This is not hyperbole. The Luigi Mangione fan club is not in the Republican Party, folks. And all they've got then, if it can't come clean and be honest, palms up about what they actually stand for, all they've got is what? Trump is bad, and platitudes. Kamala Harris sounded like a moron because A, her IQ is suboptimal, B, she couldn't articulate any policy positions because she didn't believe anything, and if she did believe anything, it was radically liberal, and so she had to hide that, which constantly made her sound like she was talking in circles. Trump can speak plainly because he believes what he believes. And you go back to clips of him 30 years ago, man, it sounds like the same guy. In fact, it turns out Trump was right about things when many of us weren't. Trump was right about Iraq. He was right about Bush. Many of us Republicans have only come to that realization now, later. Trump was there in the beginning. A real patriot, a Republican, but he was criticizing Bush for engaging in a stupid war with objectives that were convoluted at best. I'm just saying. So it's coming for Trump. It's coming from his heart. He's got convictions and beliefs, and for these people, I think the beliefs that they actually have would never win they couldn't win, a dog catcher seat in any county in America, maybe except for San Francisco, LA, and parts of New York. Now that's the problem. They're obsessed with racial identity. They're obsessed with transgenderism. They're obsessed with open borders. They're obsessed with communism and socialism. They would, these Democrats right now talking about the Constitution, due process, all this stuff. If they could, they would rip it to shreds. Constitution, my foot. You think there'd be a Second Amendment left if these people had their way? First Amendment? I don't know, any of the inalienable rights detailed in the Constitution? I guess I don't think so. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this pans out. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right. Hi, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Cory Booker still standing. He seems to be going strong here. Wow, incredible. 21 plus hours, almost 22 hours now, of him standing there and filibustering in the Senate. Now the second longest filibuster in U.S. history. Booker he's up there. The headline is he's protesting against Trump. And he heard the Democrats. I mean, he knows that's what the Democrats want. They want him to fight against Trump. How is this actually fighting against Trump? Not great. Trump's just doing what he wants. So he's proceeding just fine. Here's a common sense. By the way, here's a common sense change that has now been put out there. By the way, it's probably going to get challenged in court. The Pentagon Pete Hegseth has said that women in combat need to meet the same fitness standards as men. It's not about the gender. It's about the standard. You can't have different standards for men and women and have them go out in combat. Now, this makes perfect sense to me, right? But watch the Democrats get triggered by this. And it already happened, right? The New York Times did a piece about it yesterday, updated it today in the wee hours of the morning, absolutely flipping out. This is As women pushed to break new ground and advance into elite combat roles, such as the Infantry Officer Corps and Special Forces, questions arose over whether women should be held to a different fitness standard to ensure the roles were accessible to them. Accessible. Right? This is the Democratic Party in a nutshell. Accessibility is everything. Merit. It doesn't matter. Merit's nothing. Who needs merit? Your ability, by the way, your ability is a form of privilege. So that needs to be, and the Democrats see themselves as the great leveling force. Why I'm telling you the Democratic Party is communist now. Socialist at best. They want Bernie Sanders. This is great stuff. Now, I'll tell you one thing about Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, at least, is authentic, right? Nobody in this focus group came out. The Frank Luntz focus group played a couple clips from it. Nobody came out and said, you know, the problem is that Kamala Harris is a phony biatch. Like, nobody said that. The reason we like Bernie Sanders is because at least he's real, right? He's crazy. He's old. He's white. He's a man. He's an old white man, which ought to be a disqualifier if you're running as a Democrat. Well, anyway, but he's authentic. It's human nature to like people who are authentic. All I have here on the radio is my authenticity. I mean, gosh knows, I occasionally get something wrong or don't say things as artfully as I would like, but it's the real me, right? I'm not reading this from a script. I'm just talking to you from my heart. And, I can't pretend to be anybody else. I can't play a role here. All I can do is be Sam and hope that you enjoy spending a little bit of time with me. It works because I'm authentic. It works because I'm real. It works because I don't lie about anything to you folks. I mean, I share with you things about me and who I am and what I do in my life, my family, and it's just me. Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, these people are all political and personal fictions. They're like these AI bots that were created in the back rooms, maybe marijuana smoke-filled rooms of the Democratic National Committee. They're all fakers and phonies. And yeah, I mean, look, it's just, it is what it is. So okay. I think that's part of it, but it's when they say messaging, when they say they need more messaging, again, for just a final point on this, messaging, no amount of messaging will help you if your party platform isn't what the voters want. It's just not going to happen. So there you have it. By the way, interesting enough, today, some inflation numbers came through. The true inflation, U.S. inflation index, we are just absolutely dropping an insane amount. A 6-month drop. It's a straight arrow down. Inflation's getting tackled. We've stopped the government waste, the government spending. We're putting restrictions on money flying out the door. All of that fake money that is dumped into the system by the Fed, by the federal government, all of that absolutely is a crushing, suffocating weight on the economy. So letting that loose, I think, is going to be incredible. It's going to be great. So, you know what? And by the way, all these judges, I promise you, everybody's worried about these judges. Everybody's so concerned that these judges are going to stop Trump's agenda. Trump learned everything he needed to in his first term. He and his team walked into the Oval Office on the 20th of January, 2025, knowing exactly what they were going to do. They had this plan set up from go. And all of this resistance is completely and totally reactive because the Democrats played their same play from 2017. The Democrats didn't reinvent themselves. The Democrats are still the same obstructionist losers. The difference between 2017 and 2025 is that this year, 8 years later, Trump learned from everything that was done to him in the first term. And two, Trump has consolidated his power over the Republican Party. He is not facing down the Paul Ryans of the world. He is the undisputed leader of the Republican Party. He has a Speaker of the House who is a political ally. He's able to get senators mostly, in line. He has a greater Republican Senate majority. This is a completely different universe. And the people that are with Trump now have been vetted far better, have proven their loyalties, have been with Trump through his darkest hours in the past couple, 3-4 years. They've been there through J6. They've been there through the indictments. They've proven that they can be trusted and depended on. And what does this all mean? It means, well, I don't think the Democrats are going to win an election for a while. All right, we'll figure out what happened in Florida 6 and Wisconsin tomorrow. Hopefully things go well. I'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.